Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Dave, also known as Uber Dave in Texas, and welcome to the first year of Uber Q&A session. If you've been a Uber driver for a while, welcome. If you're thinking about doing it Uber, welcome. And hopefully we can go through some of the steps here and answer some questions. This will be available on replay. so you can view it at your leisure if you have to go and do something else real quick. Anyways, let me try to get this sound over here first. Trying to figure out where it's coming from. Let's see. Oh, I know where it is. Yeah, we got it unmuted here. All right. So one of the first questions that was brought to my attention was, what time is it most profitable to do Uber or Lyft? And a lot depends on the platform that you're driving under. If you're driving Uber X, or if you're driving Uber Comfort or Uber Pet, a lot has to do because there's different rates for all of them. But in general, you can tell if it's going to be going to be a good evening if there's not enough drivers out and you start seeing the surging. Sometimes the surges can help you out, and sometimes they can get you fooled into not being there. So it just depends on the time of day and the time and which day of the week that you're driving. You hear a lot of people talking about that there is a better time to make money on Friday and Saturday nights, which you're chasing the bar crowd. But it all depends on, I guess, just the amount of people that are out there requesting rides. Sometimes it can be back to back to back, and a lot of times it depends on the area that you're in too. So it all depends. I mean, it's kind of luck of the draw. It's not as much as it once was, but there's increasing amount of luck out there that you can make a decent go at it. But it's pretty interesting, if you can get large rides. There's no way to, I guess you can pick and choose. Depending on your status, you can tell if it's going to be a long ride or not. But for the most part, it's kind of luck of the draw with what you're getting. So, all right, let's see what we got going here. And my next question that I have on my list from somebody that sent this in is, are you able to use a camera inside your car? The short answer to that is yes, you can. To be on the safe side, you need to but for the most part, it's really it's up to you if you want to do it or not. I've been lately having put a camera in the car just to be on the safe side. For myself, I drive around the whole state of Texas, so I'm in and out of a lot of different areas. Some of the areas I may not know, so I may want to use it as a precaution just in case. But it's not a necessity, but in today's times, it's a good backup. It'll help deter behavior because once they see the camera, they kind of have second thoughts if they even did have something to talk about. And another situation is where it comes in handy is when you get a rider that goes in and says that they never took the ride, and Uber automatically takes it off the system because it's your word against theirs. And when you got a camera in the car, it's a little bit easier to have proof that yes, during this time, uh, it is possible to use that evidence and give it to Uber to say, yes, somebody was in the car under this name. Because nowadays, there's a lot of people that um, maybe use somebody else's mom's account or dad's account or somebody else's account, and they'll try to finagle out of it. Um, but for the most part, it's good. I had a situation today where somebody questioned the camera, and once you register it with Uber, there's a little banner that comes up when they request a ride from you that you do use a camera in your car. And in the state of Texas, it's one owner consent is needed only, which is basically you, and you're also that allows you to do the recording at no charge. So, welcome, Rafty. How you doing there, buddy? I used to do Uber full time. I'm retired now, so I kind of just do it in my spare time. I I think it's going on 7 or 8 years now that I've been doing it. But the last 2 years, I cut way back. So it wasn't as lucrative as it once was. So I still do it. I still do Uber in the state of Texas. You can go anywhere in the state of Texas and do Uber rideshare. It's not available. You can do it outside the state, but you need to go through a profile reorganization and get their permission, and that takes a while. And then when you come back to Texas, that's your home state. Um, Sometimes it's a little bit harder and it takes a lot longer to get yourself back in the system again. So I've been outside the state, and it's interesting that outside the state, you can do Uber Eats in most areas, not everywhere, but most areas will allow you to do Uber Eats because you're not in contact with, picking people up and whatnot. So that's an idea. I've been playing with that for a while, and it's been working out pretty good. Yeah. Well, thanks for watching the channel. I believe my video from today just uploaded onto YouTube. So if you're a member, um, and thanks for watching along. It's I only do it about 4 or 5 hours a day. Like I say, I'm retired now, so I don't do it as much as I once was, 8, 10 hours. Um, and most of my rides have been in the San Antonio area. Currently, I'm in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And a couple weeks ago, I was in Houston for a couple weeks doing Uber. Um, so yeah, I'll be back in San Antonio, I think, next week. So if I got a couple days free, I may do it. But our next question is from somebody that sent me an email. This is, well, how do you react when somebody sprays cologne or spray inside your car? I know I get a lot of people, I used to use the air fresheners way back when, and I I got a lot of comments from people, saying, "Oh, I can smell that. That's, not good and everything." And generally, when they do it to me and they end up putting cologne on me, if it's way overpowering, I'll take that, roll down the window. I mean, and if it's really bad, I'll roll it all the way down. I'll roll down the other window on the other side. I think they'll get the hint by then. But it's kind of how much can you bear and how long are they going to be in the car. So, if drastic measures call for, um, turning, they're going to be in the car for over an hour and they just dump the whole bottle on themselves, you may want to just keep the window open and keep the AC or the circulation going in the car. Another question is it profitable to sit at the airport for rides? And I was never a proponent of sitting in the parking lot, especially when you have to go in a queue system and wait for your turn. And there's no guarantee that your turn will, turn into a good ride or not. Sometimes, if you're on Uber X, let's say you're sitting in there for almost an hour before it's your turn, and it's all luck of the draw. Within that hour, you could probably be outside the airport and have about 2 to 3 rides, to make up for that. But it is really all luck of the draw, and it depends on, they may be going to the hotel right across the runway, or they may be going up to Austin, so you really don't know. And a lot of people kind of use that as a social gathering to see each other every day. So it's kind of like a clique. And lately, I've been really surprised if I have an airport run to drop somebody off at the airport. It's been happening a lot more lately. Um, as soon as I drop them off and I clear it and I start driving outside, from arrivals, I'll get hit with a ping to turn around and go back to the airport to pick this guy up, which really surprises me because I mean, I've basically jumped in front of everybody that's been sitting in that parking lot. And that's in San Antonio. I've had it happen a couple of times in Austin when I drop somebody off at the airport. And I've had it happen now, actually today. I was at Dallas Love Field dropping somebody off, and I got a ping to swing around and pick somebody up. So it does happen. I don't know why it happens, but um, I I'd rather take that, than sit in the parking lot for an hour or so. So, um, like I say, to each his own. Some people like doing it, but I've never really got into it. Do I do Uber full time? Well, I think I answered that. Not anymore. I've been retired and kind of just do this on the fly. So, um, oh, you got another one here. Let me see what you got going here. To be honest, I'm strictly an airport driver, but I do this part time so I can take my time. I don't do the BART runs. Yeah, I'm not doing it either. I like it. When I go around to different cities in the state, I just find it to be a challenge in conquering, um, driving around in a city and being familiar with the freeway system. Um, One of the other things that we get when you get out of state, or not out of state, but out of the San Antonio area, is there's a lot of tolls, and it automatically um senses a toll, and it will charge the passenger, for that toll. You'll still get charged on your own equipment, but they reimburse you, in the fare, and it is fairly quickly. I mean, it's almost instant that they'll do that because I think the rate is scheduled into the fare, when they accept the rides. And up here, there's tons of tollways and stuff. So I ended up getting a Texas tollway card. And now I'm running into another uh, tollway system here that makes a big difference. I mean, if you have a toll card uh, you'll get you'll have to pay the cheaper price. But if you don't, you can still pay by mail, but it's almost double the price. So it's almost, if you're going to do it for a certain length of time, it doesn't cost anything to get these things. Just other than loading it up, and it's on a online basis. So you can load it up, and you can have it set up where if like I put $20 on it, and when it gets down to under $5, it does an automatic uh, refurbish of the card, so you don't run out by doing the tolls. So hope that answers that. Another question I had from a gal says, if the PAX requests extra stop and does not know how to do it, do you assist them and show them how to do it on their phone for them? I've had several people didn't know how to do it, or they couldn't find the button to do it, and I don't use it personally that often, but I've been doing it enough now that I'll just ask them if I can, put it on their phone. So because otherwise they can come back and say that I never requested that ride, so I don't know where that came from. So they'll end up taking that right off uh, uh, your earnings for the day. So it's a good idea to get familiar on the other side of the app, so you know how to add different uh, destinations onto the app, and it's fairly simple. It's basically looking for the uh, add to stop. So a lot of people just don't know how to do it, or maybe they just have second thoughts about doing it. So it's not really that hard. Um, Somebody was asking about the dash cam that I got, and I know there's a ton of them out in the field right now, but I am mostly using my the iPhone is a perfect place, because a lot of people have it up on their dash anyway. And I've got a setup where I've got my Uber app on an iPad down by the cup holder, in a cup holder tray, and it's been working out pretty good for me. And now I see on Uber that they have it on CarPlay, so you can actually use it on your screen. I drive a 2019 Chevy Malibu, so it has a little window or screen on there so that you can uh, see the different um, items that are on your screen. So I haven't tried that yet. I kind of like the system I got. It's just a lot easier to um, see it on an iPad versus, for my age, squinting at an iPhone to, get results. So, yeah, we can do a meetup sometime. If I know it's been done in several times in the past, where people get together and stuff. Um, my time in San Antonio is very limited right now because I've been traveling all over the place. I think I'm coming in late next week, only for a couple days, and I'm out of there. It's just basically to visit my doctor for a day, and then I'm heading down to Galveston to do some cruising after that. So, but yeah, hey, you got my if you're signed up on my YouTube videos, um, feel free to contact me anytime if you got a question. So another question I got here is do you interact or talk with the the customer or the rider? Um, After about doing this for 7 8 years now, I can pretty much tell if they want to even talk. If they come in and they've got headphones on and don't even say anything, I just don't even worry about talking with them. Um, but I always start off something, real break the ice. Oh, how's your day going? What's going on? What are you doing today? that. And for the most part, most people are, if they got earbuds in or headphones, that's a pretty pretty good sign that they still want to talk to you. They're busy with their music or whatever. So, but sometimes you just gotta break the ice with them. I get a lot of people that get in the car and they spill their life story to me. So sometimes it varies, um, and for the most part, I think most people are um, pretty easy about talking back and forth. The follow up question: What they'll always ask you, is it busy today? And I don't know what they're trying to pry out of you, but I always tell them, he says, yeah, I'm always busy. It's back to back rides, one right after the other. So they kind of, I think they're interested on knowing the other side of the coin, as it were. What it's like to be a driver. I had one last week that asked me, uh, she's thinking about being a driver. It's a good deal, and you think I should pursue it. And you know, sometimes I kind of think to myself, I don't know, this sounds like a setup. You know, are they really asking, or um, are they an undercover for Uber? Not that it's going to matter. You're not going to get deactivated for putting down Uber, but I basically tell them the truth. This is um, if you want to try it, try it out for a while. Do it on not don't do it on a busy weekend. Do it in an area where you may get only one or two rides an hour. That way, you're not overwhelmed with it. Do it and start it in the city that you're in, so you have a general idea, um, where everything is. And after that, you can always expand on it and increase your hours, to make the earnings that you're looking for. One of the other questions I had was, let me see here. Well, somebody was asking about my model car. I think I just mentioned that. He says, I got a 2019 Chevy Malibu, and I've had that now for probably about 2 years now, and it's been doing real good. Most of the years prior to me retiring, I always rented a car from Uber directly. Um, it was just a lot easier, and I ended up putting a ton of miles on it. And I started in San Antonio when Uber was first coming in on board, and they had a different type of policy back then that they sent you down to the dealership, and they uh, hey, hey, be quiet, sit down, Lucky. Got comments from the crowd, but it all depends. People ask, do you like driving for Uber and Lyft? I says, yeah, it's I like going out and seeing people. It's a good way to see the city, and just for the most part, it's just a easy um, place to understand and get to know everything. So we're sitting at 5:30 right now. I got about another half hour to go, and somebody was asking me, "Do you have any crazy stories?" Yeah, they're all kind of crazy. Sometimes you meet a lot of different people while you're doing Uber out in the field, and um, be careful on how how you describe your interesting story, because sometimes they may not um, totally understand where you're coming from. So don't assume that they're um, going to be understanding about all how you describe it, but you can kind of feel them out, if you're going to offend them by telling them that story. But I I tell them is, yeah, there's always interesting people out there, especially on the weekends. If you want to meet some interesting people, just try driving Friday night and Saturday night and picking people up at 2:30 in the morning from the bar. They'll get pretty interesting, that's for sure. Um, Myself, I don't drive the evenings anymore. I just don't want the hassle and the possibility of somebody throwing up in the back seat. And all these years, I've never had anybody throw up in my seat, and I prefer not to have anything start. So yeah, there's plenty of interesting people out there. You just got to remember that you can't defend them, otherwise, you can get in trouble for it. All right. Well, Jeffrey sent me this. Can you predict the surge and always stay busy? No, you can't really predict the surge. I mean, and they always tell you don't run after the surge. If there's a surge going on, chances are if you start heading that way, it's for some reason the Uber algorithm senses cars coming in that direction, and all of a sudden, poof, it's gone by the time you pull into the surge zone. Um, what if you want to stay busy? I mean, very busy. I'd suggest doing Uber and Lyft at the same time. That requires two devices but it can be done on one, but you'd be flipping around that phone pretty good. But when I did it, I had two devices. I had two different phones, and they were set up, one on the windshield and one was on the cup holder. And when, let's say, Uber went off, I quick turned off the Lyft, and vice versa. If the Lyft went off, I turned off the Uber. So you just have to be fast, because otherwise, sometimes you get stuck with two requests at the same time from Uber and Lyft. And when you cancel one, it counts against you. So try to, it takes a while to get used to it, but it can be done. But you can stay very busy doing Uber and Lyft at the same time. The other way is if you want to do Uber and Uber Eats at the same time, that'll increase your amount of calls or for your service. The phone will be going off almost constantly. So, but then you have to decide, do I really want to do Uber Eats, when everything's going pretty good on Uber X or Uber Comfort. So just go into the app and turn off those requests, from Uber Eats, and that'll take care of that problem. And like I say, you can work for Uber and Lyft at the same time. You're an independent contractor. You're not married to one person or the other. So it's perfectly fine for you to be doing both of them. Let's see. Jerry sent an email in. He says, "Do I need rideshare insurance?" It's there's a graph out there on Uber that shows you when you are actually covered. From the point of accepting the ride, they'll pay out anything. If you get into an accident on the way of picking up packs, or when you got the pickup, when you pick them up, then you're really covered. But basically, idle time. If you get in an accident and you're not going to or coming from, it's basically you're going to be on your own on that one. I know people that have the rideshare insurance. It's depends on the company you go with, but it can range anywhere from a few bucks a month to $50 a month. But that'll cover you for that gap in between. The other way is, if you do get an accident off the clock, as it were, where you're waiting for a ride, you can just basically say that you've been out doing chores or something like that and you got in the accident. Otherwise, most of the time, if you don't have the insurance or the insurance rider through your insurance company, and they submit a claim to have something fixed, from an accident, and they find out that you've been doing rideshare, they'll deny the claim right off the top of the bat. So buyer beware. One question I said, what's the best vehicle for ride sharing? It all depends on your personal preference. I know a lot of people that they get the Prius, because it doesn't use that much gas, and they get more bang for their buck. But there's a lot to say that you have to be comfortable. If you're going to be in that car for 8 hours, you want something that's comfortable. There's a lot of people that'll stick to not in a huge SUV or anything like that, but they'll, my car is a mid-size car, and it's nice and comfortable, when riding around in the day. So whatever you're comfortable with. My car actually also qualifies for comfort rides also. So that's an added advantage. Where you're not going to get comfort rides if you're riding around in a Prius. But it all depends on your situation. I mean, if you got your own car that you're doing it, I mean, you're kind of fixed on what you can do. If you're renting a car through Uber, I think it's through Hertz now, you can pick and choose your car. You can even rent a Tesla for a week, but I haven't heard very good stories about, making money on it. It's nice to be driving around in a Tesla, but bottom line is, are you making money with it? And most of the people say they aren't. Somebody asked, what's the best phone for ride sharing? It's an individual preference, really. I mean, the app obviously works on both, and so it's whatever you're comfortable using. I've always used an Apple, so that's the one I'm sticking with. So, but it's an individual preference. I mean, it can dictate on how comfortable you are. I mean, if somebody gave you an Android to use and you're used to an iPhone, it'd take a while for you to get used to it. So do whatever's comfortable for you, and whatever you can afford to. Lisa asked, what happens if I can't find my passenger? Yeah, there's two different thoughts on that. One is you can do your due diligence and give them a call, say, where are you? Text them, and see if you can flag them down that way, and give them directions where you're located. If they're trying to find you, tell them I'm underneath the McDonald's sign. I'm where I got a silver car. I got my flashers on. If they can't find you after the 5 minutes, and go ahead and give up on it. The other people, and this is me, I mean, I'm typically, I'd like to have the passenger out there waiting for me, and preferably if they've had their identifier on or clicked, so I can see it on the app. When I roll up to them, you'll see a little icon, a figurine, so that gives you an idea where they are, especially if you're in an apartment complex. If you pull up one side of it and they're actually over on the other side, you can make that call and drive over there to pick them up on the other side of the building. If they don't have it and you're at the exact location where you're supposed to be, I'm not one to, if they had made no contact with me, or even ask me, where are you? Or if they, I don't hear from them, I don't see any movement, I'll just wait the 5 minutes and then cancel and delete and collect the no-show fee, which isn't that great. It's like, I think $3.85. I just had my first one this week. And then they try to lure you in there for, if you want to collect another $2, wait another 4 minutes. That's not worth it. Jerry asks, can I advertise in my car for other businesses? You're an independent contractor. You can do whatever you want. There's nothing in the verbiage with um, Uber or Lyft that says that you can't. But shut up. Dogs are growling. But make sure it's tasteful and you understand what's going on. If you're when you're selling stuff. Um, you know, I think before the pandemic, people were selling candy bars and this and that, and um, so it all depends. Really. Um, let me see if I can do this. So let me see here. I want to invite somebody. Copy. And I want to email him. And let's send this to Dave. So one of the other questions I had given to me during the week was, do I have to provide a ride for a minor or packs that have babies without baby seats? There's been a lot of discussion on this um, about are you can you refuse? And I tell everybody it's your business. Um, you can refuse um, rides to people that have babies without car seats. Uh, I'll turn those rides down automatically. I'll tell them I can't take you. Um, I don't embarrass them or anything, but I tell them that you do need a car seat in my car. And they'll always come back and, well, the other driver did this. And I says, well, I'm not the other driver. If I get into an accident, that baby goes flying through the front windshield, you're going to come after me. So, I don't want that uh, situation. As far as minors, uh, everything's changing on that. It used to be anybody under 18 that you could not take, and that was a lot of people at high schools and whatnot. But Uber is kind of changing their tune on that. I think I saw something that they're starting something was called Uber Teen, where I guess they get permission from their parents, to use an Uber. Um, so it's be careful. I mean, when you got minors in the car, especially um, young women, um, and that's another reason to go back to having a camera in the car, just to make sure that they can't claim something in the future, against you or whatnot. But just remember, this is your business. You're an independent contractor. There are certain rules and regulations that you need to abide by. One really big one is uh, the dog if it's a what do they call it? Uh, you know, I'm trying to think what therapy dog or whatever it is. If you refuse that and they make a claim against you, you can be axed right on the spot or put on timeout for a while. So be careful out there. I mean, don't put yourself in a predicament, where you're going to get yourself into trouble. Jocelyn, I see you. Never been in an Uber before. How early should I get one to the airport? Uh, you can schedule it. I did a couple scheduled rides for like the following morning or afternoon. So you can schedule it and you'll be able to see if a driver accepts it. I don't know how far in advance you can do it. I think it's like 24 hours in advance. But if you're doing it on the fly, it all depends on the time of day and the day of the week, and how many drivers are out there. Um, so, for instance, in San Antonio, for the most part, let's say if you want to get to the airport by 10 o'clock, I would start, depending on what side of the city you live on. Let's say if you live by Six Flags, I would say that you would have to need to start requesting one right around 9 o'clock at the latest. Give yourself ample time, just in case there's um, backed up traffic or, there's other situations or you can't find the driver. Um, but don't wait to the last minute because that just puts a lot of hassle on the passenger, and they tell you, I need to be there in 5 minutes. My plane's taking off, and it's live and learn. I mean, it's you shouldn't you should have ordered it a lot early. So I always say earlier the better to order those rides. So all right, back to the email questions. What map app is best for the drivers? Um, I personally either go with Google Maps or Waze. I kind of been floating back and forth with it. I will not use Uber navigation. It's just, there's some interesting deal on there that a few years back, they were kind of padding the time on the route that they wanted you to take. So it's it's an individual preference, but get to know your app and the navigation system. Um, and you know your city for the most part, but there's so many new subdivisions popping in and whatnot. Um, it's easy to um, let me see. I'm getting a request here, but it's easy to navigate around it. I mean, but get comfortable with the navigation that you're using. Jerry asks, how can I improve my ratings? Well, that's a twofold question. This is if you are um, easy to talk to, or you're not taking any roundabout ways of getting to the location, and you provide a good service for them, most likely they're going to, give you a good rating. The couple of situations where you're going to run into problems is if you have a conflict with somebody, um, they'll just go ahead and give you a one forever. And it always takes so long to bounce back. And a lot of it's just pure spite, I'm going to write you up and give you a bad rating. Now, as far as rating the passengers, I always give them, the top score, unless for some reason, they really screwed up, like they were 10 minutes late to getting to the car, or they kept on doing things, that slowed things down, or they questioned my ability to drive or, taking a route. Um, I had so many people. Of course, when you got these apps, it always has it set up where you can get to that location the fastest. And I just had one three days ago. It was a new gal that just moved into the area, and she was on her way to work in the morning, and she was in town for 4 months already, and she'd been taking Uber every day to it was BJ's Steakhouse, and I don't know the area out here, so I'm relying on my GPS to tell me the fastest and quickest way to get them over there, and it was through a freeway system, and she's just about freaked out. She started calling her mom, her dad. I talked to her dad, and he says, "What's going on?" And he says, "I don't know." He says, I'm just following the GPS. So I handed a phone back to her, and you could hear her dad calling, "Just let him do his job. He knows what he's doing." You know. So it all depends. I mean, it's uh, people are really finicky. I mean, and I've heard of people, if you have a perfect score like a 5, people will just dump on you and give you a 0 just for hating you for being a perfect person. There's people out there, but there's not much you can do other than being nice, uh, cheerful. Um, for the most part, the driver has the final say of what's all going to go on. And if, as long as you provide the service and do it in a timely fashion, you should be able to get your rating in there, and you also should get a pretty good amount of tips on that also. That's another thing that's been really lacking. And since I've been driving around in different cities around Texas now, I can get a real feel of how people tip in different parts of the state. San Antonio is probably about on the 50-50. Half of them do, half of them don't. Houston is terrible. Houston, you're lucky to get one tip out of 10, and then it really isn't that much. Today up here in Dallas, I only had 5 rides. They were all long distance rides, half hour, 45-minute rides. Out of those 5 rides, I had 3 tips of $8 on the app, and one person gave me a $10 bill. So I mean, they're a little bit more free with their money up here, it seems like. Austin is kind of wishy-washy. They're maybe about 65%. So it's interesting, just driving around the area, and seeing how people tip, for doing this. Whenever I take an Uber or Lyft, depending wherever I am, I always tip the driver. There's no reason. I mean, they're providing a service for you, and I kind of know the back door of things. We're getting weaseled out of money left and right, so every little tip helps. So I kind of give them the tip if they deserve it, for the most part. All right, we got one more question, it looks like, before we get out of here. Somebody asked what time is it most profitable to do Uber or Lyft? And I'd say if you have the stamina and the willpower, I always hear that Friday night and Saturday night late, the bar crowd is always where people make their most money. You'll get into a lot more surges then, but you have to be prepared for people that are drunk, belligerent, may throw up in your car. So it all depends on what you can put up with. For me, I'm comfortable just driving a little bit during the daytime. I right now my philosophy is I don't get out until after rush hour is over in the morning, and then I try to get off the road by the start of rush hour in the afternoon. I've just found out that there's just way too many. There's too many different people out there that drive with side. They just got blinders on going home, and people are up here. I think if you think San Antonio is bad with drivers with aggressive driving, up here in the Dallas Fort Worth, it's worse. I mean, it is really bad, and red light runners. One thing, if you're thinking about doing Uber or are doing Uber, don't jump the gun at stoplights. When I always count to 5 if I'm the first in line to leave that, because I don't know how many times I see red light runners, and one of these times, their numbers up and they're just gonna be too bad. But that's gonna wrap it up. If anybody else has questions to answer real quick, I can wait for about a couple seconds here. Other than that, I'm going to try to do this. This is a premier question and answer session. I get a lot of people asking about this and that and the other, and I know there's quite a bit of turnover that comes in with Uber and Lyft, and so this is a great way for people to share their experiences. What they like, what they don't like, and for the most part, it's a good living. I used to do it as a full-time gig, but now being retired, I just don't have the will to go out there for 8 hours. Plus I don't need to anymore. I mean, I'm on a pension and Social Security and all the good stuff. Going out and using it to explore the city and different areas that I don't get to, or I hadn't never gotten to. But anyways, yeah, appreciate you guys stopping in. And if you haven't seen my YouTube channel, it's called Uber Dave in Texas. And just do a search for that. And I'll see if I can put a link down here. But I do daily vlogs when I'm driving. I do interviews with people in the car and stuff. It's just a neat way to see the different packs that are out there when you're driving and stuff. So anyways, look for that, and I'll probably be doing this one again in the near future, but look for an invite if you like, and we'll catch you next time. Adios.